Hi, welcome back to Paradise, Louisiana. You know, one of the real forgotten places in all of South Louisiana for speckled trout, really for bass too, is the Pearl River.
Well, it's been known a long time for bass, upper and lower Pearl River, the marsh area. It's one of those areas that transitions from flat, open, grassy marsh up to bottomland hardwoods, all in piney woods, all up on the northern end. But right now, this time of the year, we found them there last year, and they're in there again. We're talking good speckled trout. Some folks are picking up redfish. We weren't lucky enough on this last trip, but went with Mike Gallo, Captain Mike, Angling Adventures of Louisiana. He had been on those fish for a while, and as people are finding out, it gets a little bit congested in there, but there's a lot of room. There was probably 10 boats showed up that day, and everybody was catching speckled trout. And these are not the big trout that you're going to find out in Lake Pontchartrain or Wrigley's. These are your schoolie trout. But there's plenty of them, a couple of ways to catch them. Mike is famous for his drop shot rig, which is really just a fancy term for sinker on the bottom with a hook a little bit above it to keep from getting snagged on the bottom. We were fishing with some beautiful live bait that's still available at either Chef Harbor Marina, you can get them over there, or you can get them at the Wrigley's Marina for a while. That's probably coming to an end pretty soon, depending on water temperature. But a lot of people were throwing plastic and bouncing them, and they were catching fish there. We ended up, I think we had probably 42 keepers and didn't really fish a whole day. A lot of throwbacks. You're going to have to kind of go through them, but had a great time fishing out there. And it's easy enough. You can come in from several ways. You can come in from the Chef area. You can come in from Wrigley's Marina down to Wrigley's. Or if you got a small boat, you can launch up on 90 on the Pearl and just run straight down.
That's one good way to do it. In fact, it's a little bit of open water, but if you know how to run it in a small boat, you can get there.
Yeah, and it's a place where no matter what wind you got, you're out of the wind, you can fish in there. You kind of look for the drop-offs, look for the currents moving along the edges there. And like I said, we caught redfish there this time last year.
Is this seasonal, or is it controlled by the stage of the river? Like the river, the Mississippi's real down, real low right now, water's clear everywhere. And is that the same way it works with Pearl River?
Actually, the Pearl, that lower Pearl, you can catch speckled trout and reds pretty much all year round. Just for some reason, this time of the year, they seem to congregate a little better in there. Salinities have been higher, water's lower. And to be honest with you, it's one of the few places you can get out and fish when you can't fish in some of the others, so people go there where normally they might fish a different area. But it's a good place to fish, and we got a few extra tips. Mike Gallo, a guy that fishes a lot of the area around there. He fishes Chef, Lake Bourne, Biloxi Marsh, Pontchartrain, Lake Catherine, and he also includes the Pearl River. And here's some tips, particularly if you're going to be fishing during these colder months in the river.
Well, I tell you, I do like to fish the live bait as long as it's available. But as soon as it's no longer available, your plastics are going to be really popular. I like the curl tail plastics this time of year, 3/8 or a 1/4 ounce jig head. Slowly work them on the bottom and pay close attention when you catch a fish. Does he shake his head, or is he just lethargic on the surface? And that'll give you a clue as to how fast you can fish. If he's shaking his head, the water's warm enough, and you can be a little more aggressive with your presentation. If he's slow and lethargic, you should fish slow and lethargic. Generally, once it gets cold, water temperatures below 55, they're always on the bottom, especially earlier in the morning. And as the day heats up and the water heats up, they may migrate out onto some of these flats and get into some warmer temperatures where the baits are, where the fish that you're going to feed on are. And you may be able to use a popping cork for that as well. I still like the curly tails on a popping cork, and I use a light jig head whenever I fish the popping corks, an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an ounce jig head in that instance.